Hey, my name's Logan.
And I'm Alyssa.
And this is Marketer's Cut. We're on take 37 now. Hey, listen, I think we've almost been doing this podcast for a year. We've missed a bunch of episodes. But we started, I know, at least in October. So we're very close to the year point.
I think it was near the end of October.
Well, then maybe we got a month.
Yeah.
Still close.
Still close.
Still very close. Well, anyways, thank you for joining us. This is a podcast about movie marketing. We talk about a little bit about trailers and posters, all the standard marketing stuff. We also like to talk about a lot of the more wackier, more unexpected stuff you don't hear when people normally are talking about marketing for a movie.
Or the things that you're hearing a lot about, but they were different, and that's why you're hearing a lot about them. So we're going to talk about them.
Yeah, exactly. We wanted to get that out of the way up front. This week we're talking about a really fun movie. Well, I thought it was a really fun movie. James Wan's Malignant.
Yes. Malignant.
Yes. Are you...
Sorry.
No, don't... On my document, I forgot to replace the name for the Voyeurs, which we were going to do last week. And Alyssa's trying to call me out on it.
Well, it's just I saw it, so then I was confused. I was like, I think he has the wrong document up. And then, obviously, you just forgot to change it. That's fine. I just want to make sure you didn't start talking about the Voyeurs.
Nope, we're talking about James Wan's new horror film that premiered on HBO Max and in theaters the same day that The Voyeurs came out, September 10th, 2021. You ready to get into it?
Sure.
Cool. I should have also mentioned that in addition to talking about normal marketing stuff, we also like to throw a joke or two around. A little joke idea out.
Oh, man. You already said cool and made this podcast very uncool.
You have tricked me to letting the dog in here.
I've been so nervous for minutes. And you started, I said, he's not going to know.
We're going to try it. If you hear some collar jangles in the background, that's our dog. There it is. Okay, so...
She needs to be involved.
Okay, well, we are going to... She's shaking her toy now. Oh, this is the worst idea you've ever had. We're 2.5 minutes in and we have not... Okay. Whew. Okay, so this movie is directed by James Wan, as I've already mentioned. It's directed by James Wan. Here's a synopsis from IMDb. Madison is paralyzed by shocking visions of grisly murders, and her torment worsens as she discovers that these waking dreams are, in fact, terrifying realities. That would be a way to increase torment, if you kind of realize that about your life.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I don't think that was a good synopsis, though.
I think that in the synopsis and in the trailer and everything, they're trying very hard not to say what this movie is about. In even vague terms, and we'll get to that a little bit later.
I just think I don't think that's what the movie's about.
Okay.
Even if it doesn't even spoil, like, the thing, I feel like that's just they're not a reality to her. She's just seeing them in her dreams, really. Unless you're going to tell the big thing.
Okay,
So I just think that it's just crazy and it's about her past. They should have said something about her past and,
Okay, fair.
Thank you.
Fair enough. James Wan wrote the script with his wife, Ingrid Bisu. That's pretty fascinating. She actually, I think, posted on Instagram and kind of told the story about how she first pitched this to James Wan and, her husband. And he was like, oh, yeah, let's take this to the studio. They'll make it. And he had the ability to do that, again, for reasons that we'll talk about a bit later. It's kind of fascinating, though. But like I mentioned, this came out on September 10th on HBO Max and in theaters. It opened on around 3,500 different screens. Budget's around $40 million, so that's a lot for a horror movie.
Yeah. And also, what did they pay for in this movie?
Special effects, locations, stuff like that.
Can you put that in the podcast, that face I just did?
Sure, like a little eye roll.
It wasn't like an eye roll. It was like I'm confused.
Yeah, we're going to pause this and escort our dog out of the room.
She's coming to the microphone. She needs to talk.
Okay, our dog is out of the room now. Thank God, because boy, was it a distraction, like I've been saying.
Nope. I found it endearing.
Okay. So I mentioned it's made for about $40 million. Expensive for a horror film. It opened to 5.4 million. Worldwide so far, it's made $16 million. It's not a lot.
No.
We have to keep in mind again. We say that we're like a broken record. It also premiered on HBO Max.
We don't know those numbers. It's also a pandemic. What would the numbers be in not a pandemic and not if it was also on HBO Max?
Yes, you said it more eloquently than I could.
Great.
All right.
Rotten Tomatoes score.
75% critic score, 53% audience score. Yeah. It's very divided, the response to this film.
Yeah, I feel very in between both of those.
Yeah, I'm very high on it. Very, very high on it.
Yeah, I know.
The cinema score makes a lot of sense. This one's fascinating to me, and we're going to kind of get into this a bit later, we have a lot that we're going to get into later that explains a lot of this early stuff. But the cinema score is a C. Not great at all. Like, that's a terrible cinema score, for being real. What would you have given it? If you, like, walked out, what was your score you would have given it?
C makes sense.
That's what you would have given it?
Yeah, like, you're not failing. You're, like, just barely passing.
Okay. I'm going to give it a bit higher, but this movie plays around a lot with what it sells itself to be and what audiences expect it to be, and it kind of turns that on the audience's head intentionally. So it got a bad cinema score, and yeah. So, as I mentioned, James Wan wrote the script with his wife. The idea was pitched to him by his wife, and he's like, "Oh, well, we're gonna go make this wacky idea that's so over the top and so wild." One of his I think his last film he made was Aquaman. It made $1.1 billion worldwide, and before that, not too long before that, he made Furious 7, which made $1.5 billion worldwide. So Wan is a director he's proven himself to be capable of making multiple billion-dollar films. Mm-hmm. It's extremely impressive, especially with Aquaman, which sort of is a franchise film, but like is the first film for that character.
I don't think that's the reason it did so well.
What?
Aquaman.
That it was the first character?
No, that the movie got so much money.
What is the reason then?
Jason Momoa.
Okay. Explain. Explain to your fiance.
I just think people like Jason Momoa a lot. And you saw him in Game of Thrones, but not really for that long. So people are like, oh, well, he's going to be in this movie. He's the main person. I guess I'll watch that because I want to see him in this.
Do you like Jason Momoa?
Have I seen Aquaman?
You have not.
No. So that should answer your question.
So you're saying it's good and great that I don't look like Jason Momoa, right? To you?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you. But regardless of like what these other factors are, the way studios look at these things, they're like, oh, well, he directed a film, it made $1 million. That's all they need to say that, okay, he can handle these large properties and stuff, and they want to keep a director like this happy. So there's this idea in Hollywood, it's called not called, but it's known as like a one for you, one for me type of plan or deal. Wan makes this big blockbuster film for Warner Brothers, Aquaman, and after that, it kind of gets to make his own thing, free of a lot of the studio interference that you would normally get in films like this, because they're trying to keep Wan happy, because they want Wan to come back and do Aquaman 2, or they want Wan to continue to direct billion-dollar franchises for them, or something like that in the future. So with Malignant, you get something that didn't really need to be studio approved for the most part. It didn't need to have like a pre-built audience that you could, oh, we can make this movie because these people will definitely go see it and love it. It's just made by Wan and by Wan's wife because they wanted to make it. And that's kind of why we get what we get. And that's the start of how it's performed the way it has, if that makes sense.
Okay.
You have any questions?
No.
All right. You seemed like you had a question.
No.
Cool. So it did come out on HBO Max. According to Samba TV, a service that does some estimates of how like streamed properties are watched and everything. The film was streamed by 753,000 U.S. households in its first weekend. Now, I don't know what that number is normally, off the top of my head. I don't know if it's good or bad, but it is 53% less than what The Conjuring 3 pulled earlier this year, a similar release with both a theatrical and an HBO Max day and date release.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it performed much worse than that. Now, Conjuring 3 is the third mainline film in the Conjuring franchise. It's also the sixth or seventh film total in the Conjuring franchise. Like it's one of the biggest horror franchises that's like consistently making films now. So it makes sense that like that performed really well. So it's not a perfect comparison, but of course you don't necessarily want it to do like twice as well as like another horror movie directed by a really well-known director and stuff. Another thing is Malignant did outperform In the Heights, which also it outperformed it on HBO Max, not in its box office numbers and stuff. So it's not the worst thing that's come out like on HBO Max and stuff. A lot of people are watching it more than In the Heights and everything, so you have that kind of playing into it. How did you hear about this movie first?
You said something about it?
So you hadn't heard anything else about it before?
No.
Okay. I hadn't heard much about it. I think it was a podcast I listened to said they were going to review it, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't know much about it, though, until press started seeing it and releasing their reactions online. And they were like, this is the most fun, most wild horror movie that I've seen in a long time. A lot of the marketing wasn't very prevalent. Like, you had never heard of it. You weren't getting a lot of, like, social ads or TV ads for it.
No, a lot of horror movies I'll at least see something about, but I didn't see anything about this.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think they did much to market it. I think they created a trailer. And doing marketing, like the research for the marketing of the film, I couldn't find a ton of, like, out-of-the-box stuff. It's just trailers and posters and interviews with the director and stuff. The very basic press tour, press release type thing that you get with films that you get with films. So I don't know if it was part of the Warner Brothers strategy or HBO Max strategy to not promote it a lot, or if the strategy was to let like the press kind of handle it, let critics watch it and share that opinion and get and slowly build word of mouth for it, because it surely didn't have a splash of a release.
True.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what you think. Like, what do you think is the case here so far? Do you feel like possibly things are intentional, or is a miss by the marketing team?
I think a little bit of a miss. I can kind of see like having hype at because it's like so crazy that people start talking about it, but I just don't think it's going to be enough.
Okay, that's fair. Now, there was a press conference with Wan. I couldn't find this exact interview that he did, but I read about it somewhere. I hopefully I'll be able to find the interview with the article or something. But at one point, Wan did say something about wanting to make a movie that you find in the back of the video store, in the back and bottom of the horror section, that has some weird cover and makes you and your friends say, oh, this is what we're going to fuck with tonight. Like, this is what we're having a good time with tonight. Like, that kind of movie. That's what Wan said he wanted to make. And it's funny because, like, those kind of movies are in the back of the video store, in the bottom of the horror section.
They don't have video stores anymore.
Okay, well, it's the nostalgic idea of the video store. They're there because no one wants to watch them. So then you hear from the director, like, oh, I wanted to make a movie that no one wants to watch. It's kind of, I'm skipping a few steps there, but that's kind of what he's saying.
Yeah.
He wants to create this sort of cult classic that is supposed to be a fun time with your friends that isn't supposed to make a splash right when it comes out, and it's supposed to build like an audience or following years after it comes out or something. It's the whole purpose of those, and so that seems like it's one factor that shows like, okay, this movie was never going to be successful. The only thing you can sell it on is the fact that James Wan is the director, and how many people actually care about that, like his name. Clearly not as many as would be needed to have a breakthrough opening weekend. Yeah,
not like if you're watching James Gunn's Suicide Squad, you're going to be like, oh, new Suicide Squad, it's James Gunn. Let's see what happens. I mean, they already did this, but they're doing it again, but with a director that we know and love.
Yeah, like James Gunn is, like, Wan is very well known in, like, horror circles and everything. But James Gunn he's branded in a different way. And maybe it's because he's been a part of, like, these franchises that that build that for you, like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
And now Suicide Squad and everything, but I don't feel like Juan has that same level of like pull. So when that with that being the only thing you can really say, like, oh, he directed The Conjuring and Insidious and Saw, which are very popular films.
Yeah.
That's all you have really in terms of marketing
The
the movie.
first Saw?
Yes.
When did that come out?
Like 99 or something, 2001, late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the first thing I kind of wanted to get to. So now he also did a press conference. And here's one quote from it that I thought was really fascinating. I know people kind of know me as the ghostly supernatural guy in recent years. Part of the reason why I made Malignant was to really break that expectation, was to kind of start the movie going, oh, you think this is what you're getting from James Wan? No, you're getting this instead. It makes you ask these questions at the start, like, is it a supernatural being? Is it a ghost? Or is it a demonic possession movie? So that's where I have, like, the point where he didn't even want anyone to know what the movie was. He wanted them to be guessing what kind of horror movie it was.
Yeah, I mean, when I was watching, I was like, I don't know what the fuck's happening. I don't know what the fuck is going on. I don't know what it is.
But if somebody watches the trailer and they say, "Oh, this is a possession movie," or if they say this is a ghost, a typical like ghost or monster type movie, they have an expectation. They go in, that's all fucked with. You get a bad cinema score. You get people that did not get what they were expecting, very much on purpose. But that's sort of bad for word of mouth,
Sure.
Okay, well, you seem confused. What are you thinking?
I think you're too biased about the movie. You're talking too biasly about it.
Okay, no, that's fair. That's fair.
Okay.
So what do you think, though? I mean, like what do you mean by I'm too biased about the movie?
I mean, you're just giving it all of this credit.
Well, so I'm not saying that like it does these things particularly well. I think it does, but I don't think I'm trying to say that right now. I'm trying to say that like just by the fact of intentionally trying to like switch things up on the audience, because you don't want them to have any idea what they're getting into, you're gonna get people that are disappointed with the outcome.
Well, yeah, but if you don't get people to see it in the first place, then what's it matter?
Well, I mean, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, like things were obscured from the trailers and from the marketing material because he wanted to be able to switch things up on the audience. So anybody can create their own conclusions about what they're going to go see if they do decide to see it. And he can fuck with those right away in the movie. And they're like, oh, this isn't what I expected, because they weren't really told what to expect.
Okay.
It's sort of different. I talked about It Comes at Night recently, I think in our Green Knight episode. But It Comes at Night is another horror movie distributed by A24. And it got a terrible cinema score. We worked at theaters, both worked at theaters when that movie came out. Like, people would complain about how terrible it was, how it wasn't scary at all. And because that's a horror movie that intentionally like marketed itself to be like a suspenseful, scary, like there's a creature out in the dark horror movie. Mm-hmm. And that's not what it is at all. So this isn't like they're trying to market it as something very specific to get people
to come to see it.
It's like they're trying to market it very vague so that when people do come to see it,
they have no expectations.
Yeah, and people are gonna create their own expectations. If you're watching a trailer, you have an idea of what you think it is, but it's not necessarily what the movie told you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you're not creating a clear expectation, but then you're also trying to overturn any possible expectations that someone will have. So you're just gonna upset everybody that is choosing to go see it for the most part, I think.
Yeah, but that's not making a lot of money.
It's not, no. I'm not saying it's a good marketing strategy.
Okay.
I think everything about this movie is a terrible marketing strategy. Everything about what they did with this movie, terrible to get people to go see it. I weirdly think it's like intentional or an inherent part of what they were trying to do, but it doesn't change the fact that like it's terrible, terrible marketing.
Okay.
Another quote that he had was like, and it kind of goes into what I was saying about like them trying to obscure things, but he said it's difficult because today's audiences are very savvy. They're very clever. They look at trailers and they can kind of look at posters and they can kind of put things together, right? So the key is, how do I stay ahead of audiences today that are so savvy, but at the same time still come up with things that people haven't quite seen before? So just another quote to kind of, put ourselves in Juan's mindset. He's trying to make sure people have no idea what to expect. And trying to upset that idea right when the movie starts, or very early in the movie, So they're like, oh, what's happening?
Uh-huh.
I'm talking a lot. We're going to get through this section really soon. But with all that being said, and you hearing my very possibly biased opinions on what this movie did, was Malignant ever? Was it ever? Was it ever even a possibility for this movie to be like an instant hit? With how it was made, how it was marketed, exactly what it was trying to be. Like, it was trying to be something that is not a hit, you know? Like, B movies that you find at the bottom of the horror section are movies that people don't go see in theaters. That's why they're there. So, with everything that it's done, like, to me it seems like the plan for the movie is just to market it terribly. And to see how things go from there. We put no effort into marketing. And it's almost like Warner Brothers or HBO Max is like, we don't know how to market this. Let's just say James Wan did some shit and put his name all over it, and that's called a day.
Okay.
What are your thoughts?
I don't know what you want me to say.
I'm just wondering what your thoughts are.
I mean, maybe they did that, maybe not. Maybe does he do the marketing? I don't know.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, so, and lastly, just about, it's not an instant hit. It's not a box office success. It's not something that people are going to go subscribe to HBO Max for. But I'm wondering if it has, like, staying power. It does turn into, like, a B-movie cult classic type thing, like, by design, you know? Like, it's what it wants to be. And if it does reach that goal, is having, you know, it's premiered on HBO Max for a month, and it'll be off of it after that. But then once it hits, like, Blu-ray and DVD, the physical release, it'll be back on HBO Max for as long as Warner Brothers has HBO Max, you know? Mm-hmm. So maybe now it's not a reason for someone to subscribe, but maybe in 3 years, when people are like, oh, what are the best horror movies of the past 5 years? And people are talking about Malignant like crazy still. And they're like, oh, well, you can go watch this on HBO Max. Is it like a... Do you think it has the ability to build an audience and then drive subscribers for a streaming service years down the line, and maybe not right when it releases?
Not by itself. Maybe if there are a couple of other horror movies.
Or other things
that
similar
are good,
to, like,
yeah.
like it, and I hate to frame it like this, but it kind of fits perfectly into, like, the content creation strategy that all these streaming services are doing. Like, it doesn't need to be an instant success for it to be useful down the line. So I think it'd be really fascinating to kind of see what happens with it in, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah.
What do you think of the trailer?
It was fine. Vague, obviously.
Yeah. Did you notice, like, the weird cuts and stuff? Like how it would speed up a shot. So, you know, we just watched the movie, so we saw, like, that shot that's circling around her. And in the trailer, it kind of, like, sped up that shot. It looked, like, really intense and cool and stuff.
No, I didn't see that.
There's another shot where some, like, guy's in a, you know, dead in a bathtub. And the shot in the movie is a very stationary, still, wide shot. And in the trailer, it, like, does this jump cut zooms where it's, like, you know, one side, and then it zooms in, like, real fast. And then does it, like, a third time. It does a lot of these really, like, they're really simple, cheap editing tricks. Like, there's something that they can create these editing effects in iMovie.
Yeah, like a 6th grader could do.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's intentional. I think that's part of, like, the B movie marketing that they're doing. They're like, this is the kind of horror movie you're going to get. Even though none of those, like, techniques are used in the film, they're creating, like, that mood in the trailer, I think. It's kind of fascinating. Makes the movie look cheap. I think it's a cool trailer on, like, oh, that's really fascinating what they're trying to do. I think it's a very shitty trailer on a marketing side.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. Same with the poster. Like, what do you think about the poster here?
They got this scary Stranger Things font. It's very red, which stands for bloody and murder, and then it's black, which stands for scariness.
Okay. Well, I love how you're bringing back your color theory bit. We haven't had Alyssa's color theory in a while. I should do a little jingle for Alyssa's color theory.
No.
Yeah.
And then the eye looks like it's like a nail about to go right into her eyeball, and she looks scared.
Okay.
It's very simple, very graphic.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
So are we wrapping up Alyssa's color theory? Yes?
It never ends.
Oh, it
Sorry.
never ends. You're just always in color theory mode? Great. No, I mean, I kind of agree. Like, it's a bold poster. Really, two colors, black and red. I guess a little bit of gray if you consider gray a color, but, like, I don't. Um, it's, again, like, it's not a great poster in terms of, like, graphic design or something, you know? It's not, like, that wild or...
Yeah, doesn't have a lot going on.
Yeah, I'm not even saying, a lot of floating head posters. I'm not saying those are necessarily great graphic design, but, like, you can tell that a lot went into making them, I guess. And this looks like slapped together almost, in a way. Not in a bad way. Do I think it makes for a great poster for a film? To make people want to go see it?
Nah.
I don't think so. But I think it's a cool poster for other reasons. Like, this could make a great Blu-ray cover or something like that. So, I don't know. I think that a lot of the marketing falls under that category of, like, trying to be something that people don't want. Which is very, like, well, I guess that's cool. You have any cool marketing ideas for this?
Yes. Are we ready to spoil the whole damn thing?
We are Malignant spoilers ahead. So if you don't want to hear Malignant spoilers, really just...
End the episode.
Yeah, just stop listening now and come back after you've seen the movie. It's on HBO Max until, like, October 10th or around October 10th. And then it'll be back on HBO Max in a couple months after that. So if you don't want to get spoiled, see ya.
Okay, I'm starting now.
All right.
So do you know what this movie reminded me of?
What?
Beyond Two Souls.
Yes.
Do you
When I first watched it, I thought the same thing, yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking. And in that game, she goes back to her past and has all these things. I think it'd be cool. Again, nobody watches the fucking shorts. No one's going to watch these shorts and these back things. No one's going to watch them.
Okay.
But I think it'd be cool if they did that for, like, things that happened in her childhood with him and, like...
Like the home video stuff? Like...
Yeah, but, like, longer and more of them. You know what I'm saying?
It would be
more
cool if they were in
depth.
the home video style, though. Like...
Yeah. I just think that would be... And it would go with the film. I think that'd be a really cool idea. And Beyond Two Souls reminded me of that. And I was like, that'd be a really cool way to, like... I don't know, take it back. Give them more backstory and stuff like that.
Yeah, let's frame a lot of this around where the movie is going to really find a lot of success. Not at the theater. And from what we've discussed, I don't think it would have ever had success in a theater setting. So it's framing around a home video release, like a physical media release. Mm-hmm. So like everything you just said can be included in like a special edition Blu-ray or something, Mm-hmm. It'd also be cool, like, she's a kid. Like, she draws things, like, to include like a booklet that has like art that she colored or drew as a kid or something, Mm-hmm. Just little stuff like that, like pieces from her childhood. I think could be really cool. No, that'd be awesome.
Great, thank you.
Do you have any other ideas? I have something to kind of add on to it too.
Okay, we'll go ahead.
Okay, so if we're gonna focus this around like the home video thing, I think you do because, like you said earlier, what do you say about video stores?
They don't exist.
They don't exist. Do pop-up video stores in places in big cities. Like some video stores do exist. I am sorry, Videodrome in Atlanta. Never been to you, but I follow you on Twitter. You're a good time. They exist. But like for the most part, video stores don't. So like open up some pop-up video stores in big cities that are that horror section. Like that B-movie horror section. Cut some deals with a lot of like small horror films. And, like, get their DVDs in there, but also have, like, the Malignant release in these stores, Yeah. And people can they can maybe pay, like, a $25, $30, like, admission price. Because, like, or you could treat it like a regular store. But if you give it, like, an admission price, have people go in and, like, say, hey, you get to pick out 4 films. Like, you get a Malignant copy, and you get 3 other films.
Yeah.
And let them go and, like, have that experience of picking up some random horror film in the back of a video store they've never heard of.
Yeah, and they sell popcorn, the tubs that are sealed up.
Yeah.
And in a little bucket, and then when they pop them, they get all big. And they have them sell candy.
Little boxes of candy, yeah.
So much candy.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what else they used to sell there, but definitely candy and popcorn.
You have, you set it up with, like, these old horror movie posters on the windows, Mm-hmm. That are, like, kind of falling apart, like that look rough. They've been there for a while. They're a little sun bleached and everything,
Okay.
The people working the counter in there, like, like teens that don't fucking want to be there.
Okay,
You know what I'm saying? Like, create the entire the good and the bad of the video store. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like I think one of the best ideas that I've had on this podcast, at least. No, like I don't want to say I've been better than your ideas. I'm just saying, speaking for myself. I think it's a cool idea. I would go to that so fast.
Yeah, and the only reason you have that, I'm your support.
Yeah.
And you're the tank.
Okay, well now you're talking about Overwatch in our movie marketing podcast. Dang. Do we need to say anything else?
I mean, I don't know if I have any other ideas.
Like, I'm about ready to like write up a plan for that and like email this shit to Warner Brothers. And
Isn't it too late?
No, because this is all for the physical release.
Oh, okay. All right.
Like, this movie's supposed to find success post-release. That's its purpose, I feel like. That's what I have decided is its purpose.
I don't want this to be like, well, they might have costumes come out, and it's just like a wig. It's just a wig you put on. I was thinking you could actually do that for Halloween. You could.
I could be Gabriel?
Well, no. You could be like, I mean, you can wear all black if you want, but you can just like have a wig and underneath it is like a scary bloody thing.
Yeah.
And then that could be your costume.
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
I wear my backwards trench coat.
You don't need to, you just wear all black. You don't need to do all that.
Okay. Well, I kind of want to, but okay. All right. Yeah, and I mean, no, the costume ideas for this movie are going to be really cool. You're going to see some really cool cosplay at like events and stuff like that.
I think they should, like, the poster they had was fine. I want to see cheesier 70s style horror posters.
Okay.
Just like some of that out there shit. Like, I want the posters to look like that, but old.
That's something they could have done. I did not see any like alternate posters for this movie other than like this main style. There were some that looked similar to the main style, but weren't it. But like, yeah, they could have done a lot of like alternate posters. That kind of give you the vibe of like what kind of horror movie you're getting into, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think like, because I don't disagree that it will probably end up possibly being a cult classic, but I just think, I mean, fucking market for it.
Yeah.
Like, literally.
It feels like they didn't try is my thing. It kind of feels like they didn't try much.
Yeah, it'd just be cool if they had like some of those things, and eventually maybe they'll be made, but just saying it would have been kind of cool.
I agree.
Do you have any more ideas?
No, I think we're good. Yeah, I'm going to write up my report, send it to Warner Bros. See how it goes. I'll update you guys.
Bazinga bazonga.
Don't ever say that again. All right, well, that was take 37 of Marketer's Cut, where we discussed the marketing and advertising of Malignant and gave some of our own ideas. Find us on Twitter and Instagram at Marketer's Cut and like reach out. Let us know what you thought of this episode or, you know, these ideas or the movie. You know, I'm down to hear it all. Find our podcast anywhere you can find podcasts or on YouTube. Learn more at marketerscut.com. I realize I say that every episode, and if you're listening, you probably found our podcast on one of those places. So, congrats.
But if you're like, man, I fucking hate Spotify, then go listen to it on Apple Podcasts.
There you go. I want to thank Jacob Wall for his art. Find more of his work on Instagram at JacobArtWall. And, yeah, that's it. We've been really, like, on and off recently, recording an episode one week, not another week. Things have been wild recently. Things may be wild next week. I hope not. But we do hope to be back again next week with our first consecutive episode in a hot minute. Not sure what we're going to be talking about yet, but can't wait for it.
Can't wait for it.
Well, see you later, guys.
Yeah.